The button has been pressed. Hello, happy people! I don't know why I smile so much. The weather outside has been pretty horrible, but that put me in a philosophical mood. So, hence the topic of this vlog. Today I want to talk about this eternal question, whether people change or not. Is it possible to change a person, or is it just a willful thinking? People don't change. I was telling my friends who believe, oh, well, this person is gonna change for me. I was telling them, no, don't be so naive. People are who they tell you they are. The person tells you, I'm a player, I'm a bad boy. And you think, oh, he just tells this to me. In fact, he's a very special person and he just needs to meet his own special person to realize that. But it's true that often we want to take the person for who they are not. And when you go back to your experiences, usually people tell you, this is who I am. And it's your choice to believe it or not to. I have always been quite reluctant to a change. For example, when I started wearing contact lenses, I remember it was a nightmare experience for me. I was super stressed for weeks. I always felt like, oh my God, there is something unnatural in my eye. When I did haircuts, it was always like a tragedy for me. And I'm sure there are some people who can relate to that, but then there are others who are much more adaptable to change. On the other hand, when I think about my life and how many countries I have already lived in, it is, I think, around 5 countries at this point of my life. I am changing my life, and change in the end turns to be something transformative, something helpful. Maybe as human beings we're not so looking forward to the change, because change means what? It means something uncertain, like fear, like we don't know what's going to happen. It's our future. Change can be as good as it can be bad. I don't have an answer for this question, and therefore it's very interesting to explore it, to brainstorm. Now a lot of us locked in our houses. I'm not an exception. Thanks to COVID-19, we have a lot of time to stay at home and to think about our lives. How did I change in the time frame of 5 years, 10 years? Did I change as a person, or did I basically stay the same? Curiously enough, there are certain things that I noticed have changed about me. One of such things is I have always considered myself to be a big city girl. I always said I cannot imagine myself living in the village, it's too boring. Nature is beautiful, of course, but how can you really live there when you're young and you can still have all these opportunities within the big city? And coincidentally, life is ironic. Sometimes it puts you in exactly those conditions that you're feared of. So at the moment I'm in Switzerland, and I'm not in a big city. I'm in a small town next to the forest. And what I realized is that I love nature so much. I can even show you how I love nature. I am walking with the flowers, and I'm carrying them for someone special. Okay, you will get as well. You have such a cute nose. Such a cute red nose. I'm offering you the same grass that you have. Okay, this one is very loud because such a funny tongue. The funniest part, I'm offering them the same grass they already have. I think they just realized it and walked away. I'm actually dreaming one day to be able to live close to the nature, but still be able to get to the city when I need to. About 10 years ago, I just always imagined living in Russia. I spoke a little bit of English, but when the travel prospects came around, my life has changed forever. And yeah, I have this map behind me. That's maybe not a coincidence. But now I cannot imagine what my life could have been without all this traveling. For sure I have my family, and for sure it's hard when they're so far away, when I don't get to see them so often. But at the same time, I'm thinking about all these amazing people, all these amazing experiences that I have thanks to traveling, and I cannot imagine myself what kind of person I would have become without all of this. My perspective definitely changed within me about traveling, and the fact that I actually don't want to be living in the same place, in the same country all my life, that I want to travel as much as I can. That's my second change. Change number 3 is I used to hate this expression, go with the flow. I remember one of my friends has mentioned it and it even made me mad. I was like, go with the flow means you're doing nothing. You're just like this ignorant person who is just not putting any effort, any energy into something. And now I actually think this phrase has a double meaning, and sometimes going with the flow means not being so hard on yourself, taking the energy when you need to take it, just breathing in and really appreciating your mental health, appreciating all the good things you have and not rushing when it's not necessary. I used to think that career for me is my everything. I think living in a patriarchal culture like Russia, you have 2 choices. One of them is to go with it and another one is to go against it. So in my case, I have always been this rebellious person, and in general I realized that as a woman I don't have to go with the same route that all women traditionally go. I can still become a mother if I want to, it's my choice, but in the end of the day, yes, I want to follow my dreams and I want to build my career. And I wouldn't say this has completely changed. I'm still a pretty goal-oriented person. I have my dreams and some of them have come true, which is great, which is very rewarding. But at the same time, I think you can combine 2 things. Yeah, that's another transformation. Change number 5 is, I don't know how much it has changed, but I definitely have witnessed some progress in this field. I have always been a people pleaser. If you let someone down, then you feel horrible for the rest of your day or sometimes for the rest of your life. And what I have discovered, it's very important to have your boundaries and to say yes to certain things while you're saying no to the others. And that's what I'm working on, but luckily I have discovered this path, and yeah, hopefully in 10 years I can boast that I have reached some success in it. These are some of the interesting changes I have observed around myself, and I'm not talking, about physical appearances, about certain things that are out there on the surface. It's more of an internal journey that I'm taking, and I found it quite interesting to think about it deeply and to realize that actually those small things have changed or transformed, as I like to say. But then there are some things, the core of me, that probably is still kind of the same. I'm still a dreamer, I'm easily excited about things, and when I think about myself, I still love poetry, I still love those things, and that kind of makes me happy that even though there were other external changes, this internal core part of me still stayed the same. Yeah, I still like to eat desserts before my main meal. I recently met my friend Laura, and we lived together in England, and she said, "Oh, I remember you loved eating cake during your breakfast." And I said, well, yeah, my metabolism isn't that great anymore, so I have to slow down a little bit. But yeah, that's still one of my favorite things, to have dessert before the main meal. Life is too short, so take your dessert before, and some people find it super weird, but well, this is me. And maybe it will change, maybe it won't. A lot of us require change in the others while we don't think if we ourselves should change. And I think that's the biggest mistake, because the more you want to change someone, the more impossible task it becomes. Change always has to be the internal desire. My mom has been smoking for many years, and it has always been a problem for me. And no matter what I have done, she is convinced she wants to smoke. And that's something, unfortunately, I'm coming to terms with, that I cannot change it unless the person wants to do it themselves. And sometimes it's traumatizing. It's the closest people that you have, and you really think that if I try a little harder, if I do something, maybe this person would change. But the reality is different, and it's way healthier sometimes to realize that really there is nothing you can do. Another person is an adult, and you can just love them, you can just support them, but, well, unless they want to change, you will not change them. Is change a good thing, or is it a bad thing, or is it necessary, or can I just stay the same, or can I do both? How does it all work? The confusing part about the change is the dichotomy of it. On one hand, we have people telling us, don't change, stay the same, you're great. And on the other hand, change, become a better version of yourself, do this, do that. And it's confusing because you think, so what do they want from me? I wish I could conserve people and put them in a tin, but people always change and it's impossible. You can never get inside of the other person's head. And even if you think you have a friendship that will last forever, that the relationship, other things, sometimes we just have to accept that everything in life can change. There is nothing that guarantees us permanence. And that's sometimes the interesting part of life, but also the most devastating. When you meet a friend that you haven't seen for a long time, and some of those friends tell you, oh, you haven't changed at all, you're still the same. And you kind of think, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? What does that mean? I didn't change, so I still look young, or I didn't change, that my behavior is the same. And I actually experienced that a lot. A lot of my friends tell me that. And I love those kind of friendships where you just meet a person and you picked up from the moment when you said goodbye. And even though there are distances, there are lots of things happening, we are still okay with that, and we're still friends, and it just feels like the same. Yet you do understand this person has gone through major transformation sometimes in their life. When people tell you you haven't changed, maybe they just met one version of you, because I believe that each one of us has a lot of versions of ourselves. And I realized it because I started traveling by myself. And at first it's super scary because you don't have your community, your friends around you, but it's also really cool because you can meet strangers and sometimes you can have very engaging, very deep conversations. And through those conversations, through those interactions, you realize that you are still being you, but basically you have this opportunity to be anyone you want. And when I realized it, I was like, oh my God, so these people really don't know me. They don't have this prejudice, they don't have this certain attachments or ideas about me. So I can really tell them any stories. And I'm not talking about, Münchhausen, the guy who made up stories all the time. But it's kind of super freeing when you think that, well, all my friends know me from one side. But is it always me? When you start behaving in a certain way, the way that people are not used seeing you in, everyone tells you, what's wrong with you? This is not you. And in your head, you think, well, this is me. And when you start rejecting yourself, when these words of people get inside of you, you start thinking, well, maybe this is really not me. I have never acted that way. But I think it's very unhealthy because in the end of the day, there are multiple versions of you. I don't think there is just one you, like let's say I'm a good girl and that's my only capacity. I love Alanis Morissette's song, I'm a beach, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I do not feel ashamed. I wish I could play this song. I don't know if copyrights will allow me to. Once I went to a summer camp where I didn't know anyone. And first week I was terrified, second week I started dancing, and dancing for me is something very vulnerable. I love to dance to any music, but doing certain moves, certain dances can be very nerve-wracking for me. And I remember I caught myself thinking, oh my God, I'm so free, I can do this move, which in my head I thought I'm very ashamed of doing. And suddenly I just did it in front of everyone and nobody looked at me like I was strange. And of course, all those demons, first of all, they live in our head. The band that I love very much, Keen, have a song, Everybody's Changing. And I wish this could be a soundtrack, along with Alanis Morissette of this video. But the lyrics go like, everybody's changing and I don't feel the same. It captures that spirit of change, how weird it feels at first. But then, while embracing the change, you can become a better version of yourself. These were my thoughts about change. I would like to hear from you in my comments. Please give me a subscribe. And remember one important thing. Change only on your own terms. If you feel the internal calling for it, go ahead. But don't push yourself too hard. I know now is a difficult time for everyone staying at home. And maybe you can see it through the lens of exploring yourself better, learning new sides of yourself, and changing if you're feeling like it. Stay safe, take care, goodbye.